What a beautiful ball. Now it's Cristiano Ronaldo with a chance maybe to seal it, and he has taken it. Lahm in all kinds of space. Lahm, Muller through. Muller could be embarrassing. It's three. Tony Kroos. Olivier Giroud. Barkley's found Klein with a speedy burst, and that's terrific from Vardy. Oh, what a goal by Jamie Vardy.
Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters #TFHP Euros. I am your host Kris, and another day and another dollar. No, another game of football, or two games of football in fact. I have got with me tonight, I've got John back again. John, good evening.
Evening, Kris.
And we've also got our UK correspondent phoning in live from the... No, I haven't, but yes, hi. I've got Ross. Good evening, Ross.
Yeah, one could only hope that I will one day be out there at a tournament like this, but no, not yet. So, hi, good evening from a stuffy room in Southampton.
If you ever do end up at a tournament covering it, don't forget where your roots were, mate.
Oh yeah, of course.
Send those readies in. Right, well, thank you both for joining me. We're going to jump straight in then. We've got another two games to cover tonight. It's going to be a busy one tomorrow because there's four, but let's stick to today. We have seen the culmination of another group, and it's England's group, but we're not going to start with England because there was another team who really, basically impressed massively tonight, and that was Wales. So, John, give us the lowdown. What happened? They knew that they had to beat Russia to have a chance of basically winning the group, depending on other results, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, they were absolutely superb tonight. Again, like last night, I had both games on, but as usual, as I think most people do, my eyes got more attracted to the more interesting game, which was certainly the Russia-Wales game. They were just brilliant all night long. They kept possession and passed it around nicely when they had to. They were solid in defence, compact again as they had been in previous games in the tournament. They brought in Sam Vokes tonight up front for Hal Robson-Kanu, and it really did work. He was much better at holding the ball up. He was bringing Ramsey and Gareth Bale into play a lot better. I will say one thing: for as good as Wales were, Russia were very, very poor. I mean, it's probably the worst I've seen them. The defence in the first half, the back line was all over the place. The fullbacks were so out of position every single time that Ramsey and Bale could just exploit all the space for them. And they won it comfortably 3-0. The only disappointment I suppose Wales will have is the fact they probably didn't score more goals, because Bale and Ramsey both certainly could have scored a few more. But they were really good throughout. Joe Allen in midfield, really good, controlling the tempo. Joe Ledley, who's, I think it was a month before the tournament, he broke his leg, something like that. He came back in time for it. Was really good again in midfield. They just got a great solidarity and real belief in each other. And it's fantastic for them because, I think their aim was to, try and get sort of 4 points from the group, probably was what they were kind of looking at. The fact they finished top, and it should give them a more favourable draw, you would think, is amazing for them. And it's just a case of now seeing how far they can go. Really, really well done for Chris Coleman, because when he came into the job, I think he lost it something like 6-7 games on the bounce and really turned things around for him. And obviously it was very difficult when he came in after all the tragedy with Gary Speed, and it's just a really good feel good story. For Russia though, just really, really bad. I know they were missing some key players coming into the tournament, but the whole way through this tournament they've been so poor. There was no real effort. They had maybe one chance towards the end. The big lad up front, whose name I can't remember now, Zuba, is that the guy?
Yes.
Yeah. He had maybe one chance fall to him, but they were just poor throughout the whole thing. They were so easy to turn and run at. Bale 2-3 times probably ran the length of the pitch with the ball. Just completely walked past people. And I know everyone's seen him do that before, but sometimes they weren't even challenging him; they were just sort of ushering him through. But great result for Wales. Really, really happy for them, and the fans as well were fantastic throughout. The singing in the stadium was really, really good atmosphere.
Yeah, richly deserved, and they definitely deserve the game tonight. As you say, as bad as Russia were, they, from all accounts of what I got back, they were superb. Ross, just touching on what John said there about the Gary speed factor, and also bringing into sort of the spirit idea. I listened to an interview with Kris Coleman on the BBC yesterday, and genuinely, he seemed just so inspirational in how he talks about how he bigs up the players, and he used the analogy that this time last year Wales would have been the team that everyone looked for to play friendlies because they weren't in the tournament, whereas this year they are the team in the tournament. How far do you think spirit alone, along with a couple of quite high level players, can get you in a tournament like this?
I would normally say not very, because eventually quality will out. But I think this season of all seasons in the Premier League, you've seen that it can get you anywhere that you want it to take you if you can commit to it. And I certainly get the idea that Wales can commit to it. You know, they've not been blessed with the best starting 11, but the way it works, the way it intertwines, is very impressive, you know, especially considering some of them are championship players. I didn't see the game today because I was watching the England game, but just from the idea of playing Sam Vokes up there alone, that sounds like it's going to be much better for that team to have Bale and Ramsey running off him. So for me, I don't see Wales going much further than the next round, but at the same time, I wouldn't put it past them, you know, because they start to feel now, especially after this performance, I certainly wasn't expecting them to put 3 past Russia. They start to feel now like a team that understands who they are, what they've got, and are now starting to use it a bit more effectively.
I think that's, as you quite rightly say as well, it's this sort of the idea that you can get the best out of a group almost when they're all fighting for the same cause, and when there's, would it be fair to say, little expectation? I don't know if that's harsh, but there's just that collective of, if we all get together, we all stay together, we can achieve something.
I think there is an underdog feeling about them,
yeah.
just within the camp, because, you know, considering some of the talent that was in this group, and considering we thought Russia would be a bit more of a powerhouse than they were, there was always going to be this feeling of the underdog spirit, especially when everyone just sees them as the Gareth Bale team, or, you know, otherwise they don't show up. So there is that galvanised spirit, but at the same time, you've got to be able to be effective in the way that you put that spirit and that determination out on the pitch, and they've certainly done that against Russia tonight, and they certainly showed it in the first half, especially against England. So if they can stay effective, if they can keep doing what they're doing and start using their players more effectively, like I say, with Sam Vokes being a target man for Bale and Ramsey to run off of, if they can start using their heads a bit more and start implementing a few more tactical decisions like that, then, you know, who's to say they can't get past 16 and into 8 or maybe even 4.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this group, about which teams play which, and we'll touch on that in a second. John, I'm looking at you, but with regards to Russia, John, I'll just quickly come back to you. I know you touched on how poor they were, but do you think there could be some serious ramifications with Russia, because they've had this issue with the fans, and all the problems that have gone along with that? We've documented that in this pod before, so no point going over that again. But the team has failed. It appears to be an aging team, not a lot of young talent there. And this is a side that are supposed to be hosting a World Cup in 2 years. I mean, if given the sort of politics in that country, this could be a real mess for Russian football going forwards if they don't get this team sorted out. So could you see sort of massive changes in the Russian Football Federation after this?
Well, it's a problem for their FA. It's not really a problem for the coach, Slutsky, because he's basically taken this job on as a favour to the Russian Football Federation, because he's the Dynamo Moscow coach, isn't he? So he's not the full-time manager. He's just come in for this tournament to help them out. I think the offer is there for him to stay on. Whether he wants to take it or not, I don't know. I'm not sure he will. It's weird because, you know, despite the players they're missing, they've still got some decent names out there. But I don't know what it was. Was it tactically, or just because they're missing those 1 or 2 midfielders, it just completely fell to bits. The defence certainly needs work. It's very old defence. The fullback Smolnikov was very good going forwards again, but if you are a fullback, you do have to defend at some point. He likes to spend all his time on the right wing, which is great, and he's got fantastic pace, but he's just not good enough for defence. Cochrane looks okay. I'm not amazed with him. I know a lot of people have talked him up, but he hasn't overly impressed me yet. And other than that, there isn't really anything exciting in the squad. So I mean, I don't know what sort of players they've got coming through, But they'll expect more from them in the World Cup coming up. But home advantage is a big deal. I think people don't understand how much of an advantage that really is. I would put big money on, say, for someone like England not winning a tournament until it was in England again, just because I think home advantage is that much of a boost for a team. So how much that will come into it when the World Cup comes around, I don't know. But they need to find out what the problem is, because just looking down the names. Well, there's a couple that play in the Russian league that everyone knows of, and then after that, there's nothing else there. There's no real depth.
It is a bit of a complex squad, isn't it? And as you say,
I don't know if you'd agree with me on this point, but to me, Russia looked like a team that had a game plan for the team that would have been here if the injuries hadn't kicked it,
absolutely.
and then just didn't change it.
Yeah.
They put the players in and said, well, off you go then, and it just didn't work because there's a lot of those names in there that I think have just gone missing in the roles they've been in. Yeah. So I do wonder if it's just the team they would have played if Djigoyev and whoever else that got injured would have been in, and they just said, well, this is what we've got, so you've just got to go and play it, and the current team just weren't good enough for it.
I think that's bang on, and the injury to Igor Denisov cannot be underestimated, and Djigoyev as well. They're two of their real key players, and although yes, you can't sort of rely on just two players, but you take Bale and Ramsey out of Wales' side, and you look at what's left, and sometimes, like you say, Ross, if you don't adjust your setup to when you lose two of your best players, sometimes those players below them are just not quite at the same level in the same formation to play at that level of football. So,
but I think that points out the prime difference between, say, Russia and Wales, in that Wales do have two key players, although obviously Bale is really the talent in the team and that everyone looks to, but they don't just go, it's all Gareth Bale or nothing. It is a whole real team ethic. And, Bale isn't held up as the superstar when he's with that team and all the players and everything else. The press might talk about him that way, but it's a real team mentality, and everyone presses together, everyone drops together. They all work for each other. They're not just working for one player.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And just in case we've got any Russian fans listening, or indeed any of the Russian government, I have to say that Slutsky is, of course, the manager of CSKA Moscow.
Oh, there we go.
Just in case we get hate. So you've got to be very careful when dealing with Russian things. Anyway, moving swiftly onwards. So Russia go home, and not too soon. I think they've stunk up the competition along with one or two others. But Wales progress as group winners because, Ross, England have done another England. Kind of dominated a game for large periods, although we'll touch on that in a minute because I have a slightly different view on domination. That sounds really wrong, but anyway, moving on. They sort of dominated the ball, had sort of most of the attacking flow and majority of corners, etc., but couldn't break down a Slovakia side who knew exactly what they came for, and they got it, a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, I would agree with you that it's not domination. I would say personally that it was control. Because for me, domination is in football. That means you're pounding on the goal, you're peppering it. It's shot after shot, and the goal's coming at some point. But it was more like we were just in control of it. I didn't fear Slovakia at any point. There was no chance that Slovakia had that really made me sit up and just hope that Hart had it. Except in the second half when Hart and Smalling had that incredible cock up, which almost cost us a goal, but thankfully didn't. As for the game, I don't think England looked bad. Don't get me wrong. I think there's another one that we controlled, another one that we looked far more adventurous and entertaining in than a lot more tournaments than we've been in recently. But again, it's just that final ball. It's just the final touch. Jordan Henderson, I don't think, had a fantastic game today because every time he tried to put the ball in the box, it would be overhit or it was too high or. There was always someone there to block it. I don't think Wilshere had a particularly great game in terms of feeding it in. Sturridge, I think Sturridge is just doing far too many step overs and not taking enough shots. But again, he didn't have a particularly bad game. He just didn't get the rub of the green, didn't get the opens he needed. So for England, it's frustrating because again, for the third time in this tournament, it's a game that we had right within our hands and we've let it go. But at the same time, I still take a long-term view on this England team, and I still saw more than enough in that performance to say that it was still a good performance. It was still, for me anyway, it was more optimistic than previous tournaments have been. And I still don't really mind that we finished second, as I'm sure we'll come on to in a bit with the opponents we could get from Group F. So I'm not all that fussed by it, but there's, I suppose, a little bit of me just because of pride that would have said, "Well, come on, we should have beaten Wales to first position in this group." But the main thing is getting out of this group, and that's what we've done. So I personally can't complain that much.
No, I think you make some fair points, and I agree with you on the control thing. I think domination is again in football is when you are peppering the opposition with final balls in behind and with shots on goal, and not just playing passes from side to side in front of the opposition, which largely I did think England did a lot of tonight, other than maybe the chance that Vardy had and Lallana's, which was well saved. But John, what did you make of the lineup of Roy Hodgson's changes? I mean, he's going to come in for a bit of stick tonight. Whether you see this as a result, England have still qualified, so that in itself is success, although probably the bare minimum. But do you think there was maybe too many changes? I mean, 6 alterations. It's kind of hard to get your rhythm going when you make that many changes, surely.
It was a little bit strange, especially as they weren't guaranteed to go through. I think Slovakia probably will end up as one of the best third place teams, to be honest. But England wanted to go out and win the game. That was obviously their objective, and they wanted to win this group. Obviously, qualifying is the overall riding thing, but I think they definitely had aims of winning the group. I wasn't too concerned with the changes. The changes at fullback was a little bit odd. I thought Kyle Walker's that's been playing quite well. There was, I didn't understand the arguments for resting. I know Slovakia didn't offer a lot tonight, but Weiss is one of their quicker players, and it just didn't seem to make sense to change that much. The midfield, changing that round, and this constant, pretending they're going to play 2 up front when they're playing 4-3-3 and sticking a striker as a winger just really annoys me. I don't get it. Adam Lallana isn't a left winger. He's a play in the pocket type player, and you ended up with this sort of weird 4-3-1-2 that didn't quite work. Jack Wilshere, again, as I said previous to the tournament, said I didn't think he should have been taken. I am an Arsenal fan. I love Jack to bits. I think he's a great player, but I didn't think he looked fit at all tonight. He wasn't up to pace. The other thing that was frustrating is if you bring a player like Jack Wilshere, then surely use him to actually dictate the tempo in the play, which wasn't really done. It was more Jordan Henderson going to do that, who I don't think is that type of player. I don't think England should be particularly worried. I suppose the only worry would be the lack of chances they took, finishing wise. But the defence was the big worry coming into the tournament, and that hasn't been tested yet. And I think against the better sides, they will have more space to play into for the likes of Vardy and Sturridge as well, and Rooney to hitting those balls from midfield. So I wouldn't be too concerned. But they will definitely be disappointed they didn't win the game with the amount of possession and the amount of time they had to engineer chances.
Yep.
To put that into context, 29 shots, 5 on target.
Yeah.
That's how much they controlled the game, but it's so poor in terms of finishing. So it is a concern going forward, but I don't think it helps that like John said, we've got strikers playing as wingers, and I certainly think Harry Kane is more useful in that kind of situation for knockdowns and things. But Vardy had a good game, but you can't stick him on the wing. Rooney wasn't on, so he wasn't pinging those balls over like we had in the last couple of games. So it's all a bit of a mess. No one really knows what's best for this England team at the moment, so we're just going to keep changing it until we get it right by the look of it.
Yeah. Just feels a bit slow at the moment, like the build up in qualifying. I know it was obviously against teams. I'm not saying Slovakia are amazing, but they were easier teams as such. But they're all teams that generally sat back against us. But we were much quicker in the passing. We moved the ball a lot faster. They were using the width a lot more. And everything now seems to be jamming it back in the middle, not using the fullbacks enough, not using that overlap, and just speeding up the play a bit. And that wasn't really happening tonight. And I think that's the only way you're going to get through those teams, those sort of defences. But we had in the UK here, we had Slaven Bilic was in the studio doing the coverage, and he was talking about when you come up with teams like Germany and stuff, you'll have more space to play into. So maybe it is a case of England will perform better against the so-called sort of bigger sides where there is more room and they are a bit more expansive.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. A bit slow and a bit ponderous and a bit too predictable, as far as England goes, with regards to how they set up and how they tried to play. But nevertheless, it will be it'll be interesting to see what happens. We can't leave Slovakia out of this conversation before we move on. So let's I'll just stick with you for a minute, John. You've said there you think they're likely to be one of the better teams to qualify. I'm just gonna pick out 3 players really, just to give your brief thoughts on Marek Hamsik, who I know you know well, who I have just the greatest degree of love for. Just such a good player, but also Peter Pekarik, a right back, I thought was very good tonight, as was Kuchka, who of course you know I have a bit of a soft spot for. So what did you make of those three performances players wise tonight, and do you think they've got enough if they get through this stage? Have they got enough to maybe worry the next team they play?
I don't think they'll particularly worry that many teams. You know, Hamsik is the standout player. Thought he was one of the better players on the pitch tonight, although you didn't get to see as much of him because obviously Slovakia were spending a lot of time just sitting deep and defending, and he didn't really get the sort of chance to show what he can do on the ball. Pekarik looked good. I think does he play for Hertha? It is in Germany. Yeah, he just plays for Hertha. Yeah, looked good. Looked quick, trying to get out from the back. And Kuchka, you know what you're going to get from him. Very combative, always trying to win the ball back. And that whole team is kind of built around, if we can win the ball back, give it to Hamsik and then see if he can make something happen. That's fine, but I think against better teams than England, they're going to get found out because that defence isn't superb. No offence, Liverpool fans, but when Martin Skirt was your standout player in your defence, you're going to have some issues against teams that can actually take their chances. So, they'll be happy if they get through as a best third place team, which I think they've got a decent chance of. But I don't see them getting much further than the round of 16. Fair
enough. Anything that involves me watching Marek Hamsik is good. He's good in my book, so I'm happy with that. Just before we move on to Hipster's Choice of the Day and indeed who these teams could face, I just want to read this from you. This is from Chris Coleman. As a nation, geographically we are small, but if you judge us by passion, you could say we are a continent tonight, or we're a continent tonight. That's good. I like that. That's very good. That just shows what the man is like, and you do get the feeling slightly that they're carrying the spirit of the late Gary Speed, and good luck to Wales in the next stage. Let's ask you then, John. Who gets who then? What happens now? Who's in line to face who from Wales and England and potentially Slovakia?
Oh, right, here we go.
Get comfy, everyone.
Right, so Wales will be playing 5 o'clock on Saturday at the Parc des Princes in Paris, and they will be playing the best third place team from Group A, C or D. So that will be either Albania, probably not Albania just because of their goal difference. At the moment, it could be Northern Ireland. Or it could be the Czech Republic. Obviously Group C and D we will know for sure tomorrow, their games, I think. Yeah. So we will know definitely. So yeah, I mean, I think if they got Northern Ireland, that'd be amazing. That would be. I can imagine the atmosphere for that would be absolutely ridiculous. That'd be a great night out for whoever's in Paris that night. If they got someone from Group D. I don't know, really. Czech Republic, if that happens, it's not a bad draw. They haven't been particularly impressive. The Czechs, they're okay, decent midfield and functioning team, but nothing particularly scary up front. So I think Wales will fancy their chances against if they get one of those three. So decent for them. As for England, they go through in second place, and I'm just looking for that now. The runner-up of Group B, which means they will play the runner-up in Group F. Yeah, I've got no idea who that's going to be because that's the group of Hungary, Iceland, Portugal, and Austria, and it can be any of those teams.
Yeah. So, that's going to be a really fun one to follow, isn't it? As to who comes through that.
That will be the 8 o'clock game on Monday on the 27th, and that is in Nice.
Interesting. Well, we'll keep you across it, of course, and we've something weird is coming up this week. We're going to have 2 days off. I know, amazing. And before any of you ask, we love doing these podcasts, but 2 days off will be quite nice for us. So we're going to recharge the battery. So you've got another couple of days with us, and then we get to put our feet up for a bit. So yes, we will. We'll of course be back when we know of everything, and of course on the Twitter account we will post the draw in full once we know who's playing who. So stay tuned on that one. Right, as the time has come then for our hipsters' choices of the day. Another one for me to adjudicate. So, Ross, who are we going to go with tonight?
You're not picking my one because I only saw England Slovakia, and it wasn't good enough for any of these players to be hipster's choice. So whatever John says for Wales, pick his. If I have to pick one from this game though, I'm going to give it to Nathaniel Klein, who I thought had that win on lockdown all evening and was by far the best attacking player we had outside of Vardy for me tonight.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I did think he was pretty decent and maybe not given enough of the balls he could have been. John, go on then. Who do you reckon for yours?
Oh, this is really difficult. I'm going to give it to... I'm going to give it to a complete unsung hero in the team. I'm going to give it to Joe Ledley. The man's got an amazing beard for a start, which should be worthy of any award on its own. But obviously Ramsey and Bale will get all the plaudits for the goals, and they were superb tonight. But yeah, he was just the sort of the workman in midfield who kept winning the ball back and giving it to Joe Allen, who was then distributing it. And Joe Allen's ball as well for Ramsey's goal was fantastic tonight. But if we could give it to a whole team, I'd just give it to the entire Wales squad because they were just superb. But Joe Ledley for me, he was really good tonight.
Yeah, good shout. I was going to, if I had a vote, I would have given it to Joe Allen myself. But yeah, I'm with you on those choices. I think it won't be a surprise to you, Ross. I'm going to go with John on this one, just purely because if you look at the achievement of what Wales have done tonight and how well they played, and let's not forget they've basically dismantled Russia, who, whatever you think of them, should be one of the bigger nations in this tournament and have spectacularly fallen to bits, and Wales have put them in that position. So yeah, I'm going to give it to the Welshman, the bearded man that is Joe Ledley, and he is today's hipster's choice. So well done to him. I'm sure he's listening. So well done, Joe. Right then, let's wrap up with a little bit of a preview of tomorrow's games. Then, John, we're back to 4 games tomorrow. Aren't we lucky? We've got two games at 5 and 2 games at 8 p.m. UK time. So I'll give you 2, and I'll give Ross 2. I'm going to give you the late ones, John. So Croatia, Spain, and Czech Republic, Turkey. What's your thoughts on both of those, and who do you think we see come through this group now?
I think Spain and Croatia will be the top 2 coming through. Czech Republic, Turkey. Oh, I mean that could go either way. The Czechs have been really poor in this tournament. Very disappointing. Turkey even worse. Neither of them seem to be able to defend very much, but they haven't got lots going forward. So I don't know. If they can find their shooting boots, there could be lots of goals in this game. As for Spain-Croatia, that should be a really, really good match. Both very good technical sides, can both pass the ball around really well. A lot of the players know each other. So a lot of them play together, in fact, at a club level. And they both seem to have the same issue, really. I know Spain won their last game, but they both seem to have the same issue in that they haven't really got, a superstar sort of striker. Their midfield is their real talent. So I'm going to go for a score draw in that one, and I'll give the win to the Czech Republic just because Turkey have been so bad.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to agree with you. The Croatia-Spain game, I must admit, I'm very, very keen to tune into, so I shall be across that one. And Ross, we've spoken about Wales. Well, tomorrow comes the turn of Northern Ireland, and can their miracle continue as they face Germany? You'd think that's going to be the tougher of the ties. And then you've got Ukraine-Poland, which my geography is not the best, but I guess that would be a semi-derby. It's in that kind of period, or that part of the world.
Your geography's terrible.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought they were quite close together. Are they really that far apart?
Well, it depends on what you consider far, but yeah.
Yeah, well, they're both in Europe. That'll do. Every game's a derby. Well, hey. No, I always get confused because Ukraine's actually more Russia side, isn't it? It's not Scandinavia.
Oh, don't mention. Don't say that. No.
No. Let's just move on. Let's move on very quickly before I get sued. Anyway. Yes, so Ross, get me out of this hole quickly. Ukraine-Poland, which is not a derby at all under any circumstances.
Oh, actually, no, my bad. They do in fact share a border. I'm completely wrong.
Right, so
I
after all
forgot
that,
how big Ukraine is. Oh, the eastern bloc of Europe
See?
all been carved up so many times. You forget which
after
countries
all,
where.
after all of that, you see, we're going to leave this in. We're not going to edit this out.
So Ukraine, Poland.
Please save us, Ross, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, Ukraine, Poland, I think is the most interesting of the two from this group, because I think they're both open for third or just flat out qualification. If I've got my memory screwed on, no, if I've got my head screwed on, then I think they're both up for automatic qualification. So that should be an interesting game. Neither of them have exactly been as good as everyone thought they would be. So I imagine that's going to be quite a tight one. I imagine they'll both be going for it. So that could finally be an open game in the group stages. Personally, I'd have to give it to Poland just because I think the Ukrainian camp is so divided. I'm not sure it's really got enough about it to get around Poland. But that depends if Poland start taking their chances, which they've been so poor at so far. As for Northern Ireland, I would absolutely love to see Northern Ireland get something from this game. But I just can't see it. I can't see any way of them getting around Germany or keeping Germany out for a whole 90 minutes. So I think that's going to be a Germany win. I don't think it will be a pasting, but I think it will be a Germany win. At the same time, if I'm right about Poland, that should send Northern Ireland through as well, because I think they've done very, very well to get third with 3 points. So it's very open. I wouldn't expect too many shocks, but that Ukraine-Poland game could be a little bit juicy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I don't know. I'm really torn on what to watch tomorrow. I definitely want to watch that Croatia-Spain game, but I think I might be doing a John and pulling the old double screenage out for both games, because there is quite a lot riding on these two games. So yes, we shall be across them. Right, well, that'll do us then for tonight. Thank you as always for tuning in and keeping it locked to us. We appreciate it. Don't forget, if you missed yesterday's episode, do go back and listen. We had Lana back on to have a little rant on France, which is always good, and she will be back again on Wednesday to discuss Sweden, where no doubt we'll be crying together. And tomorrow, John, you will be stepping back into the control booth, and I shall be handing you the buttons to press.
Yep.
I think you've got John and Drew with you to discuss things tomorrow, so do tune in for that. And if you did miss yesterday's episode, you won't know already that we have a Facebook page. So give us a little like, if you will, along with the usual YouTube likes and Facebook and iTunes likes, although iTunes not in our good books right now because they still haven't fixed our little problem, but we'll get there. Yeah, that is pretty much it from us. John, do you just want to let our listeners know just quickly? I know we've done this to death, but we get new listeners all the time, so if they can't download through iTunes, where to go?
You can still get it on iTunes. You just have to search for us on the store. It just won't automatically add into your feed at the moment, which I know is annoying, but there's nothing we can do about it right now. And if you've got, I believe you can get Stitcher on Apple devices. I'm not sure, but you can definitely get that on Android devices. You can listen to us through that, or directly on our website, the Football Hipsters podcast.co.uk, or through our YouTube channel. Is that all our places? I think that's everywhere.
I think that's all our places. Yeah, as far as I know, that's all our places. So do grab on, and we're in the midst of maybe making a little update on where you can get us in the future. So stay tuned for that at the end of the Euros break. We'll have more news on that later. Right, okay, that is us then for tonight. So I shall say thank you very much to Ross and to John for joining me this evening. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Pleasure as ever.
And as usual, keep your pipes stoked and your satchel clean. John will return with the controls tomorrow, and I will speak to you on Wednesday, and then we'll all have a lovely little break. Enjoy your football, and we'll speak to you tomorrow.
Now it drops for Fabregas, who looks for Iniesta, who's onside! Spain score! Hazard, well, he is a match winner. Is this the moment? It is! Divock Origi! There, and now Pella, and they now have the breakthrough. Bale. It's a great effort!